Welcome to Israeli Frenemies here on ILTV, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of Tel Aviv, Israel. The only show you'll see will get the left and right together, bash out the most heated issues of the week. We have a lot of things to talk about this week. Today, my special guest, Yariv Oppenheimer, former head of Peace Now. How you doing this afternoon?
How are you?
Fantastic. We got a great show coming up. Let's go right to the issues. Trump, the President of the United States of America, is finally doing what so many presidents should have done before. Years ago, the United States of America passed a law that the embassy of the United States of America should be moved to the capital city of Jerusalem. We are right now the only country in the world where America does not have its embassy in the capital city. And thank God there's a president in the White House right now that seems to have the courage to do what should have been done on a historical level, on a national level, and even on a religious level, and move the United States Embassy to Jerusalem. I'm sure that Yariv has a problem with this, so I'd love to hear what you have to say about this.
First of all, I'm not so sure that he is going to do it. Let's wait and see. He's still speaking about it. He's not doing the action itself. Let's agree on something. You know what? For a change. We all agree that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. I myself agree with that.
But Jerusalem you also think it's the capital of Palestine.
But I'm saying also what are the borders of Jerusalem, and this is the main question. And the Americans are saying we cannot move our embassy to Jerusalem because once we are moving it to Jerusalem, we are actually admit or accept the fact that East Jerusalem occupied to Israel is going to be Jerusalem as well. So the issue here is about the borders of Jerusalem. And by the way, I don't want to divide Jerusalem. I want to divide East Jerusalem, that the Arab neighborhoods are going to be Palestine, the Jewish neighborhood, Israel.
Where does East Jerusalem come from? When did they start being East Jerusalem?
There was the 6-Day War, and before that, it was only West Jerusalem, today it's East Jerusalem.
In 1948, when Jordan took over the area, they split the city in half and made East Jerusalem empty of Jews. And you want to go back to that?
No, I didn't say so.
Well, East Jerusalem came... One second, let's just get the things straight. East Jerusalem was created by Jordan. In other words, when Jordan came in 1948 and occupied Jerusalem, they split the city, and that is when the first time in history they called East and West Jerusalem. There was no East Jerusalem. You understand that before 1948 there was no East Jerusalem,
You know that today East Jerusalem is almost Bethlehem in the south and Ramallah in the north.
That's not what I asked you.
Speak about East Jerusalem, what are you speaking about? About the holy site or about the neighborhoods?
That's not what I asked you. You understand that before 1948 there was no such thing as East Jerusalem, right?
Yeah, but there was not such a thing like Israel, you know.
No, but Jerusalem...
Things are changing.
Jerusalem exists for 3,000 years. The word East Jerusalem came about when Jordan occupied the area and made it apartheid. They wouldn't allow Jews go, and you want to go back to East and West Jerusalem.
I don't want to go back to this situation. I want
East Jerusalem.
No, I want to go forward, not back. I want to go to a situation in which Jerusalem, instead of being a conflict, is the solution.
So you want to
and the only way to solve the conflict is to allow the Palestinians to have a Palestinian capital in Jerusalem, and for Israel to have its own capital in Jerusalem.
That's a wonderful
West
idea.
and East, this is the only way.
I agree with you. Can I ask you a question? When was Jerusalem ever an Arab capital in the history of the world?
I don't know, but when was Israel the state of the Jews,
Answer the question.
I don't know, I'm answering you, I don't know.
When was Jerusalem ever...
What is the capital of the world? They are capitals of states, not of the world.
You didn't understand my question.
Yes.
Was Jerusalem ever an Arab capital?
It was not a capital, but...
Was Jerusalem ever an Islamic holy city? Was Jerusalem ever an Islamic holy city?
Yes, of course. When you read the sources... The
Quran doesn't mention Jerusalem once.
I'm not going to argue about your religion, and I'm not going to argue about the Muslim. Eventually, the fact is that the Muslim world considers Jerusalem as a holy site.
Incorrect.
But it's not just...
Incorrect.
So why they are going to Al-Aqsa Mosque? Only because of you? Only because they want to attack Israelis?
The answer is 100% yes. The mosque was called originally Beit al-Muqdas, which means built on the temple. The only reason Muslims think the mosque in Jerusalem is holy because of the temple. So yes, it's only holy because of us.
You are making the decision for the Muslims
I'm
now
telling you
what they should believe in.
Listen,
but today the Muslims believe in that.
Listen, because you don't know the history, it's not my fault.
No, it's not about knowing the history, knowing the situation in the future.
The mosque was built on the Temple Mount on purpose, named after the Temple Mount. So yes, it is only holy because of the Jews. Why do you want... I don't understand. You as a left-winger who's all against occupation, Why is it that you're okay with the Muslims occupying the Temple Mount and you want to give them permission to be there? I don't understand it.
First of all, I admire you that you are going to convince the Muslim world to change their belief.
That's not my question. You're deflecting the question
let me say something
Yes.
before answering. I admire you for that you are so powerful that you can change the belief of the
I'm not
Muslim world
changing.
about
No, it's
Jerusalem.
facts. It's facts.
Now let's
Historical
talk.
facts.
Let's talk about what I'm offering. I'm offering a solution for the future because in Jerusalem there are two options. Either both sides are going to fight about all the things, or we are going to share it. And the sharing of Jerusalem will make all the tension much lower. And then the chance that you will be able to go and pray in the mosque, in the Temple Mount, is bigger than today.
I see.
Today you are in power, but you are not going to pray there.
So can you-
because there are, some compromise that Israel made
understand.
with the Muslim world and with the
So
Jordanian
you're
world.
under the impression that if we give the Muslims control, we'll be able to go pray there freely.
I think that if we will have peace and we will have an agreement, there is a better chance that we will be able to go pray there
Could
than
you
today.
give me an example of a majority Muslim regime around the world where you have freedom for anyone?
Yeah, of course. If you will go to Egypt, if you will
Again.
go to any other place,
Can you give me an example? Excuse me, listen to the
Yes.
question again.
Yes.
An Islamic regime where, forget Jews, the women have freedom, they're equal. What are you talking about?
Let's go to Bnei Brak next to
No,
Tel
no,
Aviv.
don't do that.
le-
Answer
just
the
a-
question.
No, I'm answering your question.
Give me an Islamic
First of all,
regime
I'm
with
not
this
in
equality.
investigation, and second, I'm
Give
answering.
me an Islam-
I'm
No, no,
answering
you're
you.
deflecting.
I'm answering
Yes.
you that if you are a Jewish person and you
Yes.
want to live in Morocco, if you want to live in Jordan,
You are
if you
what
want
you
to
call
live in
dini.
Egypt,
You are dini.
you will be able to do it. No,
you are
that's
a
not
second
true.
dhimmi. It's in a
That's-
Muslim word.
that's
You're,
not
you're,
true.
you're denying facts.
You are looking at all the Muslim world and at once because it's comfortable for you. But when we are speaking about
Dhimmi is a Muslim word. It's not my word.
This week, the Israeli security forces, police and army evacuate a carpentry workshop in the illegal outpost of Derech Havot. It's next to
Netiv Havot.
Netiv Havot. It's next to Gush Etzion. I have to tell you, when I was the head of
in Gush
peace now, we were the one to appeal about this outpost. And the reason is very simple. We thought that if the settlers would like to build settlements, they should do it under the Israeli law and should not take land that belongs to private Palestinian people. And in this outpost, you can see that they did the two things. First of all, they built the caravans and then the big houses when they got the order to evacuate, and they just ignore it. And the second thing, the land is belonging to the Palestinian living around it. So you know what? You cannot even, I don't see how you can argue in favor of that. If you're a Jewish person and you believe in the message, don't steal, so you should be in my side this time.
Okay, so the answer would be, if you had the facts correctly, I probably would be in your side. There's not a person in Gush Etzion who's for any Jew going to an Arab house, kicking them out and taking it over. The
Taking
problem
their
is,
land.
hold on, excuse me. The problem is you don't have the facts.
I
These
do have.
Well, now let me give you the facts. In 2001, families went up on a hill with Israeli orders, and okay, that's a left-wing government as well. They gave them electricity and road and everything else. Under Israeli, it was originally state land.
Why they got the
Second.
orders to
You're going
evacuate?
to have to let me go on.
Yeah.
In 2014, that's 13 years later, another organization, not yours, Yesh Din, went to the courts and said it was built not on private land, but not on state land, meaning it's a zoning problem. And then they brought some Arabs and it's our land. Then you came along in peace now, much later on in 2016, so don't take credit for it, number one.
That's not
and
true,
you
Ari.
claimed, I have the right
You
here.
don't know.
Would you like to
You
know the
don't
date?
the numbers.
Would you like to know the date?
Let me correct you, okay?
Yeah.
1999 it started.
2001 they only
just
went
a
up.
second. Let me correct you this time. 1999, the settlers decided, the Israeli Defense Forces allowed the Palestinian living around to go back to their land and to work in the land.
This has
and
nothing
Boogie
to do
Alon
with
was
the Tiva vote.
Boogie Alon was commander-in-chief, and he made the decision. The settlers didn't like it. When the second Intifada started, you are right, in 2001, they brought up the caravans. They got immediately orders to evacuate.
Incorrect.
They ignore it.
All right.
They got, just a second, let me finish.
Yeah.
They got electricity not from the government, but from the local municipality that always support this kind of action by the settlers.
Okay.
And since then, there was a dispute about the land, and this is why there were some appeal, and again another appeal, another appeal. Eventually, part of the outpost is going to be legalized because it's on state land, and part of it is going to be evacuated
Okay, listen,
after
Yariv,
Peace Now appeal
all right.
because it's on private Palestinian
so
land.
again,
We started this process much before
I love how
2006.
people go up on 2001 and you wake up in 2016 on private
No,
land.
no,
But that's-
1999.
No. This,
It
the
stopped.
Tiva vote, your complaint on the Tiva was in 2016. Stop lying.
No,
Number two,
don't say to me
the
lying.
Tiva vote,
Ari, don't
you're-
say lying.
Listen to me.
I'm telling you I was there.
Okay, can we go on for a second? I'm going to give you facts that you're
Yeah.
not going to like. The proof to the courts that this was somewhat Arab land were 2 tire tracks. There is no deed. There is no proof of ownership. 0. Is there proof of ownership or
So
not?
why the Supreme Court?
Yariv,
Yes,
since you were involved,
Ari,
tell me the proof of
Ari,
ownership. What was
where
it?
is your ownership for this jacket?
Okay,
Show me receipt
again,
that you buy the
so
jacket.
you're admitting-
No,
thank you.
I'm not admitting.
I
Show
have
me
it.
the receipt.
Thank you. I
Show
don't-
me the receipt. I
okay.
want to see the receipt.
Yariv, okay,
It's
listen, you're
exactly
great.
the
No, I agree
same.
with you.
Because in the civil
Yariv, I agree with you.
just
I agree
let
with
me
you. One
finish
second.
the sentence.
You think
In
that
the
me
ci-
buying a jacket and not having a receipt is the same as someone claiming that the land is theirs
There
and having any
is,
proof?
there is civil administration, and they have the registry for all the lands. And
Civil
they're saying, not me,
administration, excuse
he's
me,
saying
it's right
that this
here.
is Palestinian
here.
private land.
The
This
state
is the
report
reason.
of I have it. The state report of what you said did include an addendum proposing that rational solutions should be implemented,
No,
which would
we
prevent.
are not talking about
reading the
rational
report.
solution. I'm
Right,
talking who owns the land.
Yariv, I'm reading the report.
But it's
I'm
not
reading the report.
related.
Listen, that a rational solution should be implemented, which would prevent the destruction of the homes, namely to offer the Arab claimant subject to proof of ownership, which they never gave. End of story. Case
let me
closed.
tell you something
Yes.
about the Supreme Court. When I will come to the Supreme Court and I will say this land belongs to you, they
What
are
do you
not
need to do?
Let me finish. They are not going to listen to me.
Why?
They will, because I don't know who belongs
Okay.
who owns the land. Let me finish. But when I'm coming to the Supreme Court is going to the state, to the civil administration, and they are not asking for solutions. They're asking for facts.
They asked for proof of ownership.
They are asking, no, the Supreme Court is asking one thing, the state.
Yes.
Is it private land or a state land? They are not asking who belongs
So once
this
again,
state,
you're
this
saying
land to.
half-truths. What happens
this
with
is the
Judea
main.
and Samaria,
Yeah.
there are 2 kinds of land.
3.
There's state land
Survey
and
land
there's not state land.
and survey land.
Non-state land automatically goes into the default of private land, but it doesn't mean that there's an owner on that land. But what bothers me, or really bothers me,
Yeah, what
is that this
bothers
is not really about law. This is about your organization, which really is anti-Jewish. I'm going to prove it to you.
No, we are-
just
we
listen.
are Jewish people
I
in
gotcha,
favor
I
of
gotcha, I
Jewish
gotcha.
Israel.
Kfar al-Kab
Yeah.
in Jerusalem that is made up of almost entirely illegal Arab building. Did you ever go to the Supreme Court about it?
You know, I have to tell
Yes
you.
or no?
No.
Then why? But how
Ari,
about
let
in
me
Al-
answer. I'm not
Yeah.
in investigation.
In Al Hilwa, Jamal, in the
civil.
Jordan Valley,
I know it's hard
illegally
for you
built.
to
Did
listen
you go to the Supreme Court?
I will explain to you. First of all, it's different because it's not on private land.
Yes,
it's on
it
state
is
land.
state land.
No,
You
state,
are-
not private.
So that's
and
illegal.
Second,
Did you go to the Supreme Court?
Second, my organization and me, first of all, are working in order to keep the chance for the two-state solution.
you're-
and when the
what?
settlers are going, no, let
You
me
just
finish.
said law.
Ari, you cannot take
ahead.
over the show.
Yes.
When we are going to the Supreme Court, we are doing it because of the law, but also because of our ideological reason. The same reason why the settlers are going
I
there.
understand.
And the same.
This week, the government is passing what they call the supermarket law, and I want to give a little background so people can understand what's going on here. Israel, as the Jewish state, has always put forward this law of a day of rest. Now, the day of rest was not only a religious law, it was also a social law to give people a day of rest, especially those in the lower class, the lower middle class, you know, the cashiers and whatnot, they have a day off. And that has been the law since 1948. Before 1950 or so, there was no any theaters open, nothing was open in Israel. The day of rest was fully kept. What happened over the years is that law was stripped away slowly. Things were being open. Now what happens is the Minister of Finance has the right to say, okay, these people are allowed to work on Shabbat, on the Sabbath, because it puts the country in danger or in financial problems if they don't work. Now what happened is that the markets in Tel Aviv decided to open against the Israeli law. Now this new law will say, okay, we're not going to go shut those markolos that are already open, but we're going to make sure everybody else around the country keeps that law of Sabbath. I'd love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I think that in Israel you got today many kinds of societies, and you got the Orthodox religious society in which they are keeping Shabbat much more than any other Israeli that I know. And when you will go there, you cannot even drive a car. It's not a law, but this is the reality. And Tel Aviv is different than the Orthodox religious neighborhoods. They allow each person to have their own way to live their life, and to also to mark Shabbat and to have their own weekend. You cannot dictate the secular people that they cannot go on public buses, they cannot go to buy grocery things. You cannot dictate it.
So first of all, you can dictate it, and I'll explain to you why.
You should not. In a democratic state, you should not.
That's your opinion. First, in the religious communities that the roads are closed, they're closed by law. They've received issurim for it, they see clearance for it, and then they do it on their own. Number two,
I'm not forcing them to open. You know, what about my freedom of movement?
I didn't ask you what you're for. I told you what the law is.
Yeah.
Now, the law in Israel of Shabbat is not that you can't do whatever you want. It's public and national services. Therefore,
Me as a public.
Therefore, transportation in Israel under the law is stopped. If you would like to change that, you have to do it through the legislative branch. Go to the Knesset.
Definitely, we need to win the election. You know,
but you have it in 12 years.
Just a second, it's relevant for all the issues that we are discussing about. But in the issue of that, if you look at the principles, I'm saying, first of all, allow the society to have their own freedom, not just everyone
in the country,
but change the law.
Then go to the Knesset.
Just a second, and you know that now they would like to change the law and to make it more religious.
No, that's not at all. No,
religious from the state. And about the people working in this cashier that you are so careful, I will tell you a story about them. They are earning 150% when they are working on weekends, and that depends on the weekend salary. So they are not willing to go together with you on that issue. And if you are so enthusiastic about closing Shabbat, so close the Israeli television, the Israeli radio. It's not risking life,
very good points.
But it's a normal society.
It's a good point that you're making. So I'm going to just correct you with a couple of things. They're not making Israel more religious. They're making Israel keep the law that already exists. There is a law of day of rest. According to the day of rest, one does not work unless it's a critical issue of Israel. That is the law. If you would like to change the law, Yariv, go to the Knesset. So far, you haven't made it to the Knesset. Shalom Achshav hasn't made it to the Knesset.
Okay,
the left has lost 12 years
not
straight.
Not 12 years, you remember Ehud Olmert, you remember other people. Ariel Sharon was not exactly your
democracy,
leader.
The majority has voted you out. Therefore, if you want to change the law, go to the Knesset. Until you change the law, I love how when it comes to breaking Shabbat, you're like, oh, we don't have to listen to the law. But when Jews living in Judea, the law matters. It's hypocrisy beyond belief.
Because when we are talking about...
Is there a law?
Because we are talking about Shabbat. When we are talking about Shabbat, there is a different law to a different society. And again, there is a special law and special things for the Orthodox religious that my freedom of movement, I cannot go driving on parts of Jerusalem on Shabbat. Again, why it's there? Why this is the reason? Because I respect this minority.
That's not why.
The Orthodox religious are also minority. By the way, you are minority. The most of the people in Israel secular. So do you want me to dictate your life? Don't dictate my life.
The answer is it's baloney. Okay?
It's not baloney. This is the situation.
Meretz is small. Even the labor is small.
Even if Meretz one person.
With all due respect during elections, your whole ideology is the minority. The minority, mine isn't.
Because the minority has rights,
but I want back to the point.
You as a minority also has rights as a religious person.
Back to the point that we were making. Okay? There's one law. There's no law for this and that. The law of Shabbat, you should not work on Shabbat.
Of course there is different law for different people. Look how Shabbat looks. This week, the Education Minister, Naftali Bennett, from the Jewish Home Party, ordered actually the people working in the ministry not to come and not to attend a meeting, a convention being held by ACRI, the Association for Civil Rights in Israel. And I have to tell you that this is again another example of how the Israeli government feel very insecure because if instead of coming and to speak out and to confront people, they are trying to boycott, to shut down, to close, to make it illegal to be there. I think this is a proof of weakness and not of strength. And by the way, the ACRI organization, they are dealing also with civil rights of right-wing settlers and right-wing youth, and they are against arresting and taking out settlers from the West Bank, and they are against arrest without trial for settlers. So this is not a lefty. They are working in favor of rights, civil rights, human rights. What is wrong with that?
So, first of all, it's always hilarious to hear like the left-wing hallucinations that we are insecure when, again, the left can't win an election, but we're not going to go into that right now. It's just funny to hear it all the time.
Yeah, but
so I'll tell you,
if you're not feeling like that, allow them to act.
It's very funny. There's a Jewish, in the Bible, there's a Jewish thing that says, why is the pig like put out to the side? Why is the animal the pig? So it says it's the only one that has split hooves and doesn't have the internal signs of kashrut. And it's like he goes forward, the sage he goes forward, look at me, I'm kosher, and inside it's the pig. So this sort of association of human rights, they can put any name they want on their association, but let me just give you a couple of facts. And I don't know if you buy your own, that they're civil rights for everyone. I'm going to give you the example. For example, when Jews bought property, and when other Jews came in and showed proof of ownership in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, and took over a house that was theirs legally, this organization for human rights said, excuse me, you can't have that house. This is a political organization. This is a pig in sheepskin.
So how you can explain the fact?
And I will give you the example of it. So Naftali Bennett, with all due respect, is not going to fall into your libertard kind of masquerade that they're called human rights. The UN is also for human rights. They've condemned Israel more times than they've condemned the rest of the world. We're not buying it. We're just not buying it. Sorry.
So how you can explain the fact that this organization is working every week, every month, every year about things that are related to right-wing things?
Well, I'll tell you.
For example, as I told you, when the Israeli security forces would like to arrest youth from the settlers that are being, that you cannot convict them, so you put them in prison without a trial, then this organization, ACRI, is working in order to release them and to take them out. What, this is just a mask? No, this is about human rights. And Palestinian has human rights as well, not just settlers.
So there you go again.
Yeah.
There you go again. First of all, no, they don't. It's Chonenu. It's another organization that deals with people who are arrested without trial, but that's not the point.
They are dealing with terrorists, by the way.
The head of the... Yeah, you're right. A kid who's demonstrating.
Chonenu is working with Yigal Amir,
okay, so
with other terrorists,
you're not going to deflect the situation now. This organization, the chairman and the vice chairman, next show, the chairman and the vice chairman of of this Association for Human Rights, ACRA, whatever you want to call them, clearly stated in their goals the occupation and the whole left-wing narrative. Who do you think you're fooling? Look at their website. I ask everyone out here, look at their website, look at their objective. It's left-wing narrative.
Maybe the occupation contradicts with human rights. Eventually, you cannot stop.
So here's the newsflash.
You cannot just stop yourself from looking at the reality. And the reality is that there is something problematic with occupation and human rights.
So what happens?
So ACRI is talking about the effect of the occupation on human rights.
So here's the problem, and again, this is what I said many times. The left accepts the fabricated history of the Arabs, says that
it's not history, it's the present.
When did we occupy Palestine from the Arabs?
Today morning.
When did we?
Today morning.
When did it happen?
Today.
When did it happen originally?
Today. Yesterday.
So after we argue and beat it out over these issues, we always like to finish the show with a good word. I just want to say I spent the last 3.5 weeks overseas in LA, San Francisco, Sydney, Australia, Melbourne, traveling around, talking about Israel, talking about the IDF. And what makes me proud and happy is that wherever I went, Jews and non-Jews, I found some great friends of Israel. It was really amazing to see.
There are many friends of Israel. Some of them are critics to the policy of the government of Israel. It doesn't mean that they are anti-Israel. They are friends of Israel that support also my position.
Okay, well, we'll see you next week here on Israel Frenemies. Don't forget to share us out on your Facebook and Twitter feeds. Shalom from Tel Aviv, Israel. Have a great weekend.
Shalom, bye-bye.